Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News, reaching you live from Lagos. I am Oluyemisi Olubi, and here are the top stories we're tracking tonight. Thanks for joining us once again. And now the news in full. We begin by telling you that governors of the northern states have expressed concerns that the northwestern and north central parts of the country are like the new epicenter for the outbreak of violent crimes such as armed banditry, kidnapping and castle rustling. This is one of the key agenda as the northern states governors under the auspices of the Northern States Governors Forum converged on Kaduna for an emergency meeting to deliberate on a host of issues affecting the region. Our Kaduna State correspondent has more. In his welcome speech, Borno State Governor and Chairman of the Northern States Governors Forum, Kashim Shettima, says the current spate of violence has assumed alarming dimensions, such that now warrants the prompt action by the Northern States Governors.
In the northwest and north central, the security situation is alarming, and the issues of cattle rustling, kidnapping, banditry, and the persistent conflict between farmers and cattle rearers are gradually assuming unacceptable proportions. The
chairman of the Northern States Governors Forum says the problem of insurgency in the northeastern part of the country has been effectively tackled, with the Nigerian government recovering territories lost to the terrorist group Boko Haram. The Borno State Governor says the insurgents have been effectively subdued.
With the consequence that all of the areas hitherto under their control or influence have been recaptured. We call on Mr. President to ensure the full restoration of civil authority in the recaptured areas in order to pave way for the safe return of our IDPs.
On the fallout of last December clashes in Zaria between the Nigerian army and members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Governor Kashim Shettima appealed to the shared group to have a rethink on its decision to boycott the public hearing of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry set up by the Kaduna State government to look into the immediate and remote causes of the incident.
I would like to seize this opportunity to make a passionate appeal to members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria to avail themselves in the Judicial Commission of Inquiry set up by the Kaduna State government in order to present their case.
This is the second time the Northern States governors are meeting since the 2015 general election. 8 governors were in attendance and others represented by their duty. And still on security, the Nigerian army has tracked and arrested 6 terrorist kingpins noted for getting logistics support and information from the Boko Haram terrorists. According to a statement by the Acting Director, Army Public Relations, Colonel Sani Usman, the insurgents were arrested by troops of 3 Battalion, 2 Brigade, as they sneaked into Kalabalge. The names of the 6 unrepentant and hardened insurgents are given as Musa Khalili Sabakara, an Amir, Babagana John, an informant and also food seller, Isa Abaka, an Amir, and Usman Abasa, who specializes in castle rustling and selling of foodstuffs. Others are Buka Guja, a tailor who prepares clothes for the terrorists, and Buka Khalifa, also a tailor who prepares the dress for Boko Haram terrorists. The insurgents are presently undergoing interrogation. Presidential Initiative for the Northeast has donated relief materials to internally displaced persons from Borno at various camps in Jalingo. The secretary of the body, Umar Gulani, gave the materials to Governor Darius Ishaku to be distributed among the IDPs. Gulani implores the IDPs that the federal government will end insurgency and communal clashes in parts of the country to enable all IDPs return home. He urged the IDPs to support government's efforts by maintaining peace at their host communities, as materials brought were meant to alleviate their sufferings at the moment. Represented by the liaison officer of Pine, Monday Oviangbede, Gulani expressed that the organization will present the materials to 7 local government councils in Taraba, hosting IDPs. Accepting the materials on behalf of the IDPs, Ishaku thanked the presidency for the kindness, which will make life meaningful for people affected by insurgency. Items donated include bags of maize, beans, millet, mattresses, buckets, plastic cups, and cartons of soap, among other items. The Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, Suleiman Zakari Kazaure, says the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) is to deploy doctors, nurses, and other medical corps members to all the major internally displaced person camps across the country. Kazaure made this known at the Damari IDPs camp, Yola, saying the move is to solve the present medical challenges facing the camps. The NYSC Director General, while on his maiden visits to the Adamawa State Directorate of the Corps, also admonished other stakeholders not to relent in their efforts at bringing succor to the displaced persons. And I will take you to Rivers State, where the federal government will on the 2nd of June launch the kickoff of Ogoni Cleanup Program as contained in the United Nations Environmental Program report. The Minister of Environment, Amina Mohammed, stated this in Port Harcourt after a meeting with Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, represented by Minister of State for Environment, Ibrahim Usman. She says the visit is aimed at seeking the collaboration of all stakeholders in the exercise and to ensure that Ogoni people have a better environment to live in. Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode has expressed his support for Nigeria's Governors Forum's calling on the federal government to halt deduction of loans and the monthly allocation due to states. Ambode, who stated this after a closed-door meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, says such initiative will help state governments to catch up current economic realities. State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole has more.
Recently, the federal government announced deferral in the loan deductions from monthly allocations due to states. A move, according to the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, is to enable state government pay salary as well as stimulate the economy. Emerging from a closed-door meeting with President Buhari, Lagos State Governor says the deferral will cushion the effects of the current economic crunch facing state governments.
It's about financial intelligence. They are not saying that they are not going to pay back. We're saying that based on the present circumstances, you can hold down principal payments and just take interest. And then maybe for a while, let's also ask for a moratorium to be able to pay principal at a future date. The issue is this: you cannot operate a state in the manner in which the financial inflows are coming now. It's very difficult.
The governor afterwards says he is in the villa to thank President Buhari on the rail agreement signed in China.
You recall also that Lagos State is a major beneficiary from that visit. The Lagos Metro rail project, which is costing almost about $2.5 billion, it's being signed on by Nigeria and by Mr. President. The Lagos Kano Rail projects, and also all the projects that actually benefits coming to Lagos State. And it was important to just, personally come and say thank you.
As state governors and the federal government continue to explore avenue of bringing the nation out of the current economic situation, top on the wish list of Nigerians, according to analysts, is to see the end of the downturn as soon as possible. From the presidential villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole reporting for CoreTV News.
The Ministry of Budget and National Planning says it has begun preparation for the 2017 budget to enhance economic development. This was disclosed by the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, when the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria paid her a courtesy visit. She added that the federal government has also started preparation for the medium-term 2016-2020 development program to achieve sustainable development and solicited the support of ANAN to build the capacity of the staff on zero-based budgeting. As part of the overall goal of realizing universal access to safe drinking water, the federal government says managing water requires appropriate governance, arrangement that moves consideration of water from margins of government to the center of society. Minister for Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, made this known at the 2016 Water Aid Policy Dialogue on Achieving Sustainable Development Goal in Abuja. He says the federal government has improved water coverage by 69% and sanitation by 40%. Kikelamo Okere completes the story.
According to the 2015 report of the Joint Monitoring Program of WHO and UNICEF, 31% of Nigerians do not have access to safe water and only 29% have access to improved sanitation service, while the MDG report says access to water is at 67% and sanitation at 41%. However, irrespective of the percentage and disparities, it is important to note that 60 million Nigerians lack access to clean water, while 100 million Nigerians lack access to basic sanitation. Minister for Water Resources says there is need for adequate funded infrastructure projects to protect water resources and ensure sustainable development, adding that it is important to address water issue in the context of all existing and developing international process.
As part of the overall goal of realizing universal access to safe drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene for all, it is pertinent to remember that water is vital for reducing the global burden of diseases and improving the health, welfare, and productivity of populations.
Country Representative Water Aid Nigeria says effective provision of safe water, sanitation, and hygiene will improve child and maternal health.
We believe that the right to domestic water and sanitation needs to be managed in the wider context of competing demands from agriculture, from industry, from power generation, and economic growth.
It is, however, time to use water as catalyst for the emancipation and empowerment of women in Nigeria. Kikelomo Okere, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The agitation by Nigerian youths asking the Senate to step aside over allegations of false asset declaration is gathering momentum on our flagship breakfast program called Digest. A public affairs analyst, Bola Oba, says Nigerians are now becoming conscious of their leaders and the roles expected of them as regards governance and nation building. Our correspondent has more.
Some Nigerians are becoming agitated with the state of affairs in the nation. This led a group of youths to carrying placards with slogans such as #OccupyNAS and #SarakiMustGo. With the numerous challenges facing the nation, can this be said to be the way forward? Analysts on our program expressed opinions on this question and further speaks on the situation.
We cannot sit here, or Bolaba cannot sit here and pretend as though the #OccupyNAS campaign, or indeed those who are #support Saraki, this thing that conflicted on the premises of National Assembly. I cannot say that the two of them, or indeed one of them, are not sponsored.
Possible solutions were also suggested.
I am happy that the displeasure either to a man or the displeasure either to institutions of state or the displeasure to the general attitude of governance is now making Nigerians to stand up and agitate for what they believe in.
Callers were not left out of the conversation.
In terms of this hierarchy of a team now, for a long period of time, they have been following up over some issues. Then, is there no any other means, at least getting the particular things, the assets that they have alleged that is a property that he has and is not his own? Then, is there no any other means for Nigerians to like get the assets and then leave him, or give him a penalty for him to suffer over it?
I want to say that the Occupy NAS protest is a completely waste of time and misplaced priorities. I want to say that there are so many things that the youth of these days should be occupying National Aso Rock for. I don't think occupying NAS, removing Saraki, will provide fuel for my car.
Occupying NAS is the solution to Nigeria's problem. The lead solution and the lead problem is that APC government has never been serious what they are doing.
With all that is discussed, it is hoped that public office holders will start making efforts to be as transparent as possible and improve the economy of the nation rather than their pockets.
Lawyers across Africa are gathering in Abuja to deliberate on various issues. We'll bring you details of that report shortly after this break.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Thanks for joining us again. Do remember that you need to get more updates on our news stories. Do visit our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are at facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also check out on Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG. Or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/CoreTV News. A delegation of African Bar Association is converging on Abuja to seek solutions on various issues hampering the economic, political and legal development of the continent. Members of the association are of the view that if African leaders can render good leadership to their people, the rising cases of terrorism in the continent will be a thing of the past. Our judiciary correspondent Basil Okafo was there.
These legal practitioners from different countries in Africa are here to share ideas on how the continent will move forward. They are worried that in spite of natural resources in the continent, Africa is still facing so many challenges. The association is not losing hope, as the members believe that only right leadership will put Africa at par with other continents of the world.
If leadership in Africa can maintain a semblance of fairness, economic balance, good security arrangement, there will be no issue of terrorism.
And one of the ways we can do it is doing fact-finding mission, talking to the women, finding out what the issues are, what possible solutions are to their issues, and acting on it. Because we're supposed to be advocates. As lawyers, we have to speak for the weak, and we have to speak for the helpless, and that is the role that we can play. Make sure we know what is happening from ground, investigate it properly, and then try to intervene politically with our leaders to see that some solutions of sorts are found for those women.
Members of the association are also resolving to take it upon themselves to put pressure on African authorities, especially on the absence of good governance, graft and corruption, human rights issues in the continent.
The Council, Ms. Badu, and the President of the AFBA. That is, in the gist, what the organization is addressing to bring in corrective positions on the issues that it is.
Well, the issue about prosecution in the ICC is a very thorny issue. There are pros and cons. You know, we have Africans who advocate, who believe that the ICC is there to end impunity, to fight impunity in the continent. We also have some Africans who feel that it's a neo-colonialist, imperialist court with the aim to try to humiliate Africans. So I think the African Bar Association will take a balance. All of us are lawyers, so we'll look at the interests of the continent, we'll look at the interests of those whose rights have been violated.
We want our governments to work according to the rule of law, but also to work for the benefit of Africans. We have been in a long period of time where we have been like lying down, doing things business as usual. We have witnesses of different people, leaders in Africa, who are staying in power endless. They don't remember to get out and pave the way for other guys, which is other people.
It is hoped that the resolution of these lawyers from different parts of Africa will bring positive change in the continent. Basil Okafor, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The federal government is assuring the safety of all practicing journalists in Nigeria. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, made this known at the Federation of African Journalists meeting in Abuja. He says the federal government will ensure that no right of journalists is being trampled upon, adding that this present administration is giving the journalists the necessary support to move forward. Our correspondent, Bukola Afeni, brings us more.
To media practitioners.
The minister says this present administration condemns the victimization of journalists in the course of their study, highlighting the unnecessary owing of salaries by some media organizations. He appeals that media owners should pay the salaries and allowances of their members in good time.
It is also important for media institutions to ensure the adoption of best safety protocols for their journalists. They must develop and implement procedures and tools aimed at ensuring the physical and psychological safety as well as the digital security of journalists in line with the International Declaration for the Protection of Journalists, which I mentioned earlier.
Speaking on the need for media owners to always give their employers good welfare package, the NUJ president is urging government to put in place deliberate policy to stop the victimization of journalists in the country.
There are some laws that are being militating against the freedom of the press, but fortunately, the government over the years have tried to actually expunge those provisions from our statute, and well, we are happy, although we would still appeal to government to ensure that some unscrupulous elements in its rank are not trying to bring back those laws to victimize journalists.
For very meager salaries, journalists in the country have had to work under intense pressures from their bosses. Many end up not getting paid for months. Many are still put on an exploitative freelance stipend. Some have even paid the supreme price just to get information to the people. Bukola Afeni, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And still on journalists, some members of the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, Lagos chapter, are protesting the alleged selection process of the union's executive by the incumbent president, Dupe Olaoye Oshinkolu, and a peaceful protest to CoreTV News. These members, who are concerned about the modalities of the electoral process of May 7 elections of NAWAJ executives, want the appropriate authorities to checkmate the activities of the NAWAJ and the parent body, Nigerian Union of Journalists. In response to the allegations posed by these members, the chairperson of the association, Dupe Olaoye Oshinkolu, in a phone conversation refuted the allegations, saying the election process has so far been free and fair, and no manipulations from the present executive body. Sarah Ayeku tells us more.
With cries of injustice, members of the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, Lagos State Chapter, marched and chanted to CoreTV News in objection to what they referred to as a selection instead of an electoral process of members of the union executives.
We are not saying don't bring out your own candidates. Give everybody a level playing field. Why do you have to, quash the opposition? Why do you have to eliminate some people for your own people to stand?
Let us come out on the 7th. Let's have a fair ground. Let's go to the polls. Let's see who wins. Not that you now say you disqualify some particular sector because they are opposing your idea, your ideology.
In anticipation of the association's election on May 7, with grievances rent in the air, some of them claim the parent body, NUJ, is not oblivious of the irregularities in NAWAJ.
Even this Dikpola Oluye, she is not supposed to be there. Why she is there, I don't know. She is a theater practitioner and she sells fufu and amala now.
She and NUJ chairman, Deji Elumoye. They want to be the sole signatory to the account of this dual estate.
In response to the claim, the chairperson of Nawatch, Dupe Olaoye Oshinkolu, in a phone conversation states the allegations were false, as there is a constituted electoral committee.
I am not in that committee. All I know is those who are fighting now, they did not meet the constitutional requirements. If they are baseless, they are so baseless. They are not talking the truth. They are not saying the truth at all.
All right, ma. Thank you very much.
And it's very, very unfortunate.
We're waiting for the day of the election to see what they are really going to do. Whether they are going to neglect all we have done today, to still go ahead and bring in people that we know are not qualified or does not deserve to be there. Those are the things we're waiting to see.
After this protest, these aggrieved members hope the chairperson and all involved will follow due electoral process and have the interest of the association first, especially in making decisions. Sarah Ayeku, CoreTV News, Lagos.
As Nigerian workers get set to celebrate this year's Workers' Day, the Nigerian Labour Congress is calling on the federal government to review the minimum wage, as it is long overdue, considering the economic trend. Deputy President, Nigerian Labour Congress, Peter Adeyemi, made this call in Abuja while addressing newsmen on the activities lined up for the May Day celebration. He says Naira has lost its value and the current minimum wage has been eroded, which calls for the need to urgently review the current minimum wage. Kikelomo Okere completes the story.
May Day celebration is an occasion for workers to celebrate the dignity of labor as well as reflect on their struggles and making their demands known. Deputy President, Nigerian Labour Congress, says the federal government should suspend the recent increment in electricity tariff and put an end to endemic fuel scarcity in Nigeria, which has resulted to unwanted long queue at the filling station.
It is most pertinent to reiterate our calls for the suspension of the implementation of the recent increase in electricity tariff and for the government to put an end to the endemic fuel scarcity that has resulted in the unwanted long queues at the filling stations.
This year's celebration, tagged Working Class and the Quest for Socio-Economic Revival, is aimed at reflecting on the present economic situation, charting a way forward to national rebate and advocating for endangering of pro-poor policy.
As the theme of this year's May Day suggests, this is a time for us as working class to look at the present economic situation and the reality of the moment and utilize the opportunity afforded us to work toward achieving economic revival and chart a way to a national rebirth and advocate for the engendering of poor policies.
May Day celebration is used to celebrate the social relevance of workers as the creator of wealth on which the survival of nation depends. Kikelomo Okere, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The Oba of Benin, Oba Eriadeowa Uku Akpolokpolo I, is dead. He died at the age of 93. His death has been announced a few minutes ago by the Iyase of Benin Kingdom, Chief Sam Igbe. The late monarch has been battling an unknown illness. Erediaowa, born in 1923, is the 38th Oba of Benin. He took on the title and duties as traditional head of state and rightful heir of the extinct Benin Empire when he was crowned, succeeding his father, Oba Akenzwa II, on 23rd March 1979. He attended Government College, Ibadan, from 1939 to 1945, and then Yaba College before going to King's College and Cambridge to study law and administration. He joined the Eastern Nigeria Civil Service in 1957 as a district officer, later moving to the Federal Civil Service where he retired as a permanent secretary, Ministry of Health in 1973. For a short period, he was the regional representative of Gulf Oil. In 1975, he was appointed Commissioner for Finance in Bendel State during the military administration of Major General George Agbazika. in it. We'll go for a short break now, and when we get back, we'll bring you news from outside Nigeria and the world of sports.
With over 7 billion of world population and still counting, the world needs to hear you now than ever. Whatever your ministry or vision is, Gospel Africa will help get you there faster than you think possible. For inquiries and participation, contact 009 503 3859 or 0812-076-0011 or visit www.gospelafricang.com. Gospel Africa, your #1 media solutions for the church today. Gospel Africa, showing on this station at this time.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
And on the foreign scene, the Pentagon says a U.S. airstrike that destroyed a medical charities clinic in northern Afghanistan, killing 42 people, was not a war crime, confirming disciplinary charges against 16 U.S. service personnel. General Joseph Vaughtel, head of U.S. Central Command, says the tragic strike was due to human and technical errors. A U.S. gunship mistook the hospital at Kunduz, run by Médecins Sans Frontières, for a building that had been seized by Taliban fighters. Vaughtel says no one will face criminal charges, but as the error was not unintentional, it did not constitute a war crime. However, survivors of the bombing have expressed dismay that none of those disciplined will face criminal charges. And in Norway, a helicopter carrying 14 passengers have crashed west of the Norwegian city of Bergen. A rescue officials say there are no signs of survivors as the helicopter was totally destroyed. The aircraft reportedly plunged off the west coast on the island of Tori, near the city of Bergen, on its way back from Statoil's Gullfaks base. And in Syria, an airstrike has hit a clinic in rebel-held district of Aleppo, killing 2 and injuring several. Reports indicate that this is the second time this week that a medical clinic has been hit. The clinic had been providing dental services and treatments for chronic illnesses for about 5 years. Meanwhile, the attack comes after the Syrian army declared a regime of calm in parts of Latakia and Damascus regions from 1 a.m. local time on April 30th, excluding Aleppo. China has denied a U.S. aircraft carrier group entry into a Hong Kong port. A spokesman for the Hong Kong Security Bureau says the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government will not comment on the individual visits application of foreign warships. The port access denial comes just 2 weeks after U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter visited the carrier while it was operating in the South China Sea. China has turned down access requests from the U.S. military in the past. In 2007, it was the frigate USS Reuben James. That same year, China also refused to allow the aircraft carrier USS Kitty Hawk Battle Group into Hong Kong. At the time of the 2007 port denials, China was critical of U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. And now on to sports.
Power style, and that's what he delivered.
We'll take you to Germany now, where Bayern Munich boss Pep Guardiola is not giving up hope of making it to the Champions League final, despite losing the first leg of their semi-final match 1-0 to Atletico Madrid. The Spaniard insists his side's semi-final is not over yet and is confident the Bundesliga champions can overhaul Diego Simeone's men in the return leg on Tuesday. However, Guardiola is confident his team can overhaul Atleti and also explains his decision to start the game without Thomas Müller. Guardiola's side are in Bundesliga's action this weekend against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Here, a win could see a record fourth successive Bundesliga title, and the Spaniard is expecting a tough challenge. And in Italy now, Italian Football Federation has suspended outspoken president of Serie A strugglers Palermo, Maurizio Zamparini, for 20 days, following comments made about FIFA president Gianni Infantino. Zamparini is fined £18,000 and punished for reportedly claiming that Infantino won February presidential vote at the expense of Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa, only because he bought more votes. Infantino won the FIFA presidential election with 115 votes out of a possible 207. Meanwhile, Zamparini, who has been president of Palermo since 2002, is known for his controversial remarks and his trigger-happy attitude towards firing coaches. And to NASCAR now, Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel has been handed a 5-place grid penalty for Sunday's Russian Grand Prix. Ferrari confirmed the German's car will need a gearbox change before the permitted cycle of 6 races. The penalty means 4-time champions Vettel will fail to take a first win for Ferrari this season and can start 6th in the race on Sunday. Ferrari says the damage to gearbox was picked up in Vettel's first lap collision with teammate Kimi Raikkonen at the previous race in China. Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton is fastest by a large margin as closest rivals Ferrari hit trouble in second practice at the Russian Grand Prix. Hamilton was 0.652 seconds clear of Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel, whose car stopped on the track with an electrical failure halfway through the session. Teammate Nico Rosberg was third at 0.867 seconds, but did not set a representative lap on the faster tire. Meanwhile, Ferrari's second driver, Kimi Raikkonen, was fourth fastest overall, but more than 0.5 seconds slower than the German. And that's all we have for you on CoreTV Primetime News. But before we go, here are the top stories we've tracked tonight. And that's how we drop the anchor on CoreTV Primetime News. Do join us at 12 a.m. for more updates. I'm Oluyemsi Olubi. Thanks for joining us.